Zoe hadn't meant to end up in Mildura, let alone on a sun-drenched olive farm surrounded by the scent of eucalyptus and crushed herbs. But after another call from her manager demanding new songs she couldn't write, she'd taken her guitar, rented a van, and driven west away from stages, from city lights, from herself. A rainstorm chased her down an unmarked road until she found a small farmhouse tucked between endless rows of olive trees. Tired, damp, and unsure of what she was even doing anymore, Zoe knocked on the door. Ben answered, a quiet man with weathered hands and cautious eyes. He looked her up and down, half expecting a hitchhiker, half expecting trouble. "Storm's not letting up," she said, as the clouds rolled in behind her. With a sigh and a nod, he pointed her toward a small shed that doubled as a guest room. "You can stay the night, one night." The next morning, Zoe woke to birdsong and sunlight filtering through olive branches. Her guitar called to her in a way it hadn't for months. She sat beneath a tree, the earth still damp, and played soft, unfinished chords that didn't need to be perfect. Ben watched from a distance, arms crossed, not saying a word. That night, she joined him for dinner. It was awkward at first. She complimented his roast lamb. He raised an eyebrow. "A bit fancy for a farmer, isn't it?" she teased. "Used to be a chef," he replied simply, as if that closed the subject. But over candlelight, thanks to a storm-blown fuse, they talked. About Melbourne, about burnout, about the strange, disjointed rhythm of starting over. Zoe found herself staying another night. Then, another. Ben didn't ask questions. He noticed the way she hummed while washing dishes. She noticed the way he took care with everything he touched, from the way he folded tea towels to how he tended the basil pots on the windowsill. One afternoon, exploring the kitchen shelves, Zoe found a weathered box filled with handwritten recipe cards. She recognized the handwriting from the labels on Ben's preserves. Flavors of memory. Spices of someone trying to speak in food what they couldn't yet say aloud. In the evenings, Zoe played under the trees again, not rehearsing, not recording, just playing. And Ben, always pretending to be busy nearby, always within earshot, let the music drift through him. Something about her presence stirred a part of him he'd buried, not just the need to cook for someone, but the need to feel connected. They didn't talk about how long she'd stay. It was unspoken. The grove, the music, the meals, they became a kind of language. Two people, carrying different kinds of quiet, slowly learning how to fill it together. As the episode closes, the last shot holds on Zoe strumming by the grove at golden hour, Ben in the background, silently setting a second plate on the farmhouse table. What was meant to be a pit stop became a pause, then a rhythm. Zoe found herself staying longer than she planned, but for the first time in months. She didn't mind. The grove, with its quiet hum and golden light, softened the sharp edges inside her. Her phone lay forgotten on the bedside table. Morning light no longer meant panic, but coffee freshly brewed and waiting for her on the old kitchen table. Usually next to a sprig of thyme or a ripe fig, Ben had set aside just for her. Ben didn't ask why she was still there. He didn't need to. He noticed the way her songs returned slowly, like shy birds, first a hum, then a lyric, then a full chorus she mumbled under her breath while washing dishes. Zoe, in turn, learned Ben's tempo, how he moved through the grove before sunrise, how he chopped herbs with the care of a craftsman, how he made silence feel like conversation. They started sharing tasks. She followed him to the grove one morning, barefoot, brushing against olive leaves heavy with dew. He taught her how to prune without bruising the branches. She teased him about his serious face and called him Farmer Gourmet. He grinned just a little. In the afternoons, they worked side by side in the kitchen. She played guitar while he prepared meals, turning each note into a garnish. One evening, while helping set up for the Mildura Farmers Market, Zoe was handed a mic by the local coordinator. "Play something," she said, smiling. Hesitant, Zoe looked to Ben. He gave her a nod and stepped back. Under a tree strung with lights and surrounded by jam jars and tomatoes, Zoe sang her first public song in months. The crowd leaned in. Her voice, clear and raw, carried into the orchard. When she looked over, Ben wasn't clapping. He was just watching, like the moment itself was enough. Later, she found a dish waiting for her on the farmhouse porch: toasted sourdough, olive tapenade, and roasted capsicum with a twist of lemon. A note beside it read, inspired by the third verse. They ate in silence, under strings of mismatched lights, the sky melting from pink to navy. Zoe leaned back in her chair and sighed. I think I'm finally hearing myself again. Ben replied. Sometimes you have to grow quiet enough to listen. That night, Zoe opened her notebook and wrote the title of her first new song, Olive Skies. A melody drifted in through the open window: wind, leaves, footsteps, and laughter. In the quiet heart of Mildura, two lives once lost in cities and expectations were starting to find each other in rhythm. One verse and one harvest at a time. The grove was greener now, the trees heavy with olives, the days longer, the air warmer. Zoe had been on the farm for weeks, yet it felt like she had only just arrived, and like she had always belonged. Her mornings were filled with writing, melodies scribbled on napkins, lyrics found among leaves. And her afternoons with Ben, cooking, laughing, living slowly. One golden evening, she sat on the porch with her guitar and recorded a rough take of a song, Olive Skies. No filter, no studio. Just breeze and birdsong and the low hum of distant bees. She uploaded the video to her private channel, more out of habit than intent. Then forgot about it. Until it went viral. 3 days later, her phone exploded with notifications, messages, missed calls, comments piling up by the second. Her manager tracked her down with promises of interviews, festivals, and a multi-city acoustic tour. You've never sounded more authentic, he said. Everyone wants more of this. Zoe didn't know how to explain that this wasn't a sound. It was a place, a person, a quiet kind of freedom she hadn't known. She was searching for. Ben heard the news at the same time through a friend in town who showed him the video on her phone. He watched Zoe singing in his porch chair, his basil plant waving just out of focus. The song was beautiful, raw, intimate. And it wasn't his. That night, they shared dinner, but it wasn't the same. The table between them felt longer. Zoe spoke of obligations. He spoke of harvest schedules. They danced around the thing neither dared name: departure. Later, under the ghost gums, they kissed, soft, slow, like a question. But when morning came, Ben was distant. He left early for the grove, and Zoe, unsure, packed her bags. Before she left, she slipped her lyric sheet into the box of recipes she'd found weeks earlier. A folded message between flavors and flour. Then she drove. The open road stretched ahead, but her chest tightened with every kilometer. At a roadside cafe, she stopped for fuel and a coffee. Olive Skies played softly from the radio. The barista, humming along, said, "Isn't it beautiful? Feels like home." Zoe didn't answer. She turned around. Back at the farm, Ben stood in the kitchen staring at the lyric sheet. The words were smudged from her fingerprints. The final line read, "I was never lost, I was just waiting to be still." He looked out the window as dust swirled on the road, and knew she was coming home. The road back to the grove shimmered under the setting sun, dust rising behind Zoe's car like memory in motion. She didn't know what she would say, only that she needed to say it here. The air was still warm, tinged with rosemary, and something she couldn't name, maybe hope. As she turned the bend toward Ben's farm, her breath caught. Lights. Tiny strings of fairy lights looped between olive trees. A long table stood beneath their canopy, set for two with mismatched dishes, flowers in jars, and linen napkins folded just so. Candles flickered beside wineglasses already filled. And there was Ben in his apron, arms crossed, trying not to smile too soon. She stepped from the car slowly, guitar slung over her back. No words yet. "I thought you'd gone," Ben said. "I thought I had too." He nodded toward the table. "I made something." Zoe sat, heart pounding. The first course was familiar pickled radish and grilled lemon, exactly like the snack they'd shared on her first full day. Next came olive-stuffed roast capsicum, her lyrics scribbled on the plate's underside in chalk. "You're quiet, changed my tune." Each dish told their story, meals and moments. Between bites, they talked, laughed. The tension that had built between them dissolved like sugar in warm tea. When dessert arrived, orange cake with thyme and a drizzle of olive syrup, Ben placed a small wooden token beside it. On it, hand-carved in his neat script, "Stay." Zoe's hands trembled as she picked it up. "You didn't have to." "I know," he interrupted, "but I wanted to." A silence fell, but it wasn't empty. Later, Zoe retrieved her guitar. Beneath the string lights, she sang Olive Skies to Ben, the song that had almost taken her away, now anchoring her back. Her voice cracked on the last chorus, and he stood quietly, arms slipping around her. They didn't kiss right away. They just held each other, forehead to forehead, beneath olive branches trembling in the night breeze. Then, barefoot and smiling, they danced in the dirt. The harvest season had begun, not just of olives, but of everything they'd planted without knowing it. Kindness, trust, possibility, love. As the stars appeared, Ben lit a candle and placed it in the center of the grove. Zoe looked at him. "What's that for?" He smiled. "To mark where it started, the life we didn't know we needed." And for the first time, Zoe didn't wonder what came next. She simply stayed. Months had passed, but nothing felt wasted. In the still rhythm of the grove, Zoe and Ben found something neither had been looking for but both had needed. Zoe began recording her new EP not in a studio, but beneath the olive trees. Birdsong filtered into the tracks. Ben's saucepans clattered in the background of one. They kept it, it felt honest. She named the EP, The Grove. Ben, once a chef who worked 15-hour days under fluorescent lights, now ran a weekend supper club at the farm. Guests sat at long wooden tables beneath the sky, eating dishes inspired by songs. Zoe played live at golden hour. People drove from towns away, not for fame, for something slower, more real. Zoe's fame didn't vanish, but it softened. She played small acoustic sets in Mildura and nearby towns. No tour buses, no stage managers. Just her guitar and the sound of olive leaves rustling in the evening breeze. Some fans asked why she gave up the spotlight. She only smiled. "I didn't give anything up," she said. "I chose something else." They built a small recording space beside the grove, next to Ben's herb garden. There, they wrote songs and recipes together. Shared mornings, shared messes, shared quiet. The kind of love that didn't crescendo, it just stayed. One afternoon, Zoe found a letter in her inbox from a teenager who had found her new music online. It read, "Thank you for making me feel like I don't have to be loud to matter." She printed it, pinned it next to Ben's recipe for thyme scones. That night, they had a picnic on the highest hill on the property. A simple spread, warm bread, fig jam, mint tea. The sky turned indigo, stars blinking awake. Ben pulled out a folded piece of paper, a blueprint. Their dream, to build a creative retreat, part music studio, part food haven for people burnt out by life to come. Rest and rediscover themselves. Zoe looked at him. "Is it crazy?" Ben shrugged. "Probably. Want to do it anyway?" She laughed. "Only if you keep cooking." He raised a toast with his tea mug. "To the quiet life." "To the loud hearts inside it," she replied. As night deepened, the trees rustled with wind and song. Zoe hummed a new melody, one she hadn't written yet, one that sounded like home. And Ben, quietly listening, stirred a pot of something warm. They didn't need more. Just this. Just each other. The final frame faded to golden morning light, brushing across rows of olives. Somewhere in the distance, music played. And a meal was being made.